Attention Vikings fans, the excitement about J.J. McCarthy is legitimate, but a curious movement behind the scenes is already revealing the first cuts of a roster that is still being shaped. A newly arrived player may be discarded even before stepping onto the field in an official game. Meanwhile, the shadow of a possible bombshell involving a familiar face is growing. The message is clear: no one is guaranteed a spot in Minnesota. Welcome! Show your support for the Vikings by reaching 100 likes on today's video. Giovanni Ricci has barely arrived in Minnesota and may already be on borrowed time. The tight end, quietly signed at the end of June after minicamp, is projected as one of the first cuts from the roster even before the official start of the 2025 season. According to analysis by journalist Ryan Heckman from the Vikings Age, Ricci has little chance of surviving the latest round of cuts. The reasons are clear: lack of offensive impact, heavy competition at the position, and little time to establish himself. Ricci came from the Patriots, where he didn't even play in 2024. In 2023, when he was still with the Panthers, he participated in only 5 games and had limited contributions on offense. His main weapon to try to secure a spot in Minnesota would be his performance on special teams, where he played in 64% of the snaps when he was active. But even that doesn't seem to be enough to convince them of his staying power. Ricci's biggest obstacle is depth. The Vikings have TJ Hockenson as the undisputed TE1, along with Josh Oliver, who has a more blocking-oriented profile, and Gavin Bartholomew, a rising rookie who has been gaining attention since minicamp. Not to mention 2 undrafted free agents with long-term potential, Ben Urosek and Bryson Nesbitt, who have been in the team environment longer and offer better cost efficiency. Ricci arrived as an extra body to test the group, and this was evident from the timeline of his signing. It happened after minicamp, meaning the front office already had a clear sense of what worked and what needed adjustment. He was included in the group to raise the level of competition, but he hasn't shown anything thus far that stands out among the current options, and time is running out for him. Furthermore, the new offensive coordinator wants a tighter end group that is more dynamic, focusing on versatility and adaptation to the modern game. At 27 years old and with a limited NFL history, Ricci represents more of an emergency fill-in profile than a real piece to develop alongside the franchise's new quarterback. From a technical standpoint, his career has always been more geared towards support, short blocks, support plays, than taking the spotlight. The problem is that with Hockenson and Oliver already competently handling those roles, Ricci becomes an unnecessary luxury. There is still time for him to try to prove himself during training camp. But with the 90-man roster about to be trimmed, the chances are minimal. The reality is harsh in the NFL. Not every signed contract means a real opportunity, and Ricci is learning this the hard way. This situation also serves as a warning for other players on the roster. Ben Johnson and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah are prioritizing efficiency, chemistry, and the ability to contribute now. Those who don't fit this profile, whether due to physical, tactical, or contractual issues, are on shaky ground. In the end, Ricci may be just another one of those stories that fly under the national radar, but which demonstrate the coldness and objectivity that the Vikings are bringing to this new era under McCarthy's command. There is no room for sentimentality. Either you deliver results or you're replaced. But while the bottom of the roster faces cuts and adjustments, there are movements behind the scenes that could completely alter the course of the season. A familiar face may return, and if confirmed, his name will shake up the NFL. Get ready, the shadow of Kirk Cousins is once again looming over Minnesota. Yes, you read that right. Kirk Cousins' name has resurfaced in Minnesota, and not out of nostalgia, but as a concrete possibility for a return, albeit temporary. According to growing rumors in the league's inner circles, the Vikings may consider a move in the market to bolster the quarterback group if J.J. McCarthy does not deliver immediately, or worse, suffers an injury. The news is gaining traction because the Atlanta Falcons, Cousins' current team, have been monitoring the market for veteran quarterbacks and may change their approach depending on Michael Penix Jr.'s performance. If the rookie establishes himself as a viable option, Cousins could be traded, and Minnesota is on the list of interested parties. The scenario is delicate. McCarthy is the future of the team. No one doubts that. But he hasn't played an official snap in the NFL yet. The coaching staff has faith in him, but they also understand that putting the weight of a season on a rookie is always a risk. That's why the Vikings have kept Sam Howell as the immediate backup. However, there are doubts about whether Howell is truly the ideal plan B in case of an emergency. If there is any sign of instability, whether physical or technical, in the first games, the front office may act quickly. Cousins, despite all the criticism he received during his previous stint, knows the NFC North system, has chemistry with several players on the roster, and is still considered one of the most reliable quarterbacks in controlled game situations. In addition to Cousins, names like Ryan Tannehill and Carson Wentz are also being considered as free agency alternatives. But none of them have the history and level of chemistry that Cousins has with the franchise's core. This would make a reconnection, however unlikely, more palatable. Of course, the main obstacle is financial. Cousins signed a hefty contract with the Falcons, and it wouldn't be easy to absorb that value, unless the Vikings strike a deal where Atlanta covers part of the salary, or the veteran agrees to restructure the deal to return. Even so, it's a scenario that many believe is worth the gamble, especially if McCarthy struggles in the early rounds. The Minnesota front office wants to build a competitive team now, not just plant the seeds for the future. The offense has the pieces for that. One of the best receiving groups in the league, a solid offensive line, and an efficient ground game. With an evolving defense, the only uncertain variable is the quarterback position. If McCarthy explodes right away, great. But if not, the Vikings may be pressured to react. And in that case, bringing back a familiar face may be less crazy than it seems at first glance. Amid silent cuts and explosive rumors, the Vikings continue to shape a roster that blends youth, experience, and sky-high expectations. But one thing is clear: those who are not ready to contribute, technically or mentally, will not have a place in Minnesota in 2025. The imminent cut of Giovanni Ricci is just the tip of the iceberg of an adjustment process that will eliminate any piece that does not make immediate technical sense. At the same time, the Vikings remain alert to a potential need for reinforcement at the heart of the offense, the quarterback position. And if J.J. McCarthy falters, it won't be a surprise if names like Kirk Cousins return to the radar. In my opinion, Ricci never had a real chance. But the return of Cousins, however improbable it may seem, is the type of plan B that a serious franchise needs to keep up its sleeve. McCarthy is the future, but security in the present is non-negotiable. And you, Vikings fan, would you bring Kirk Cousins back if McCarthy falters? And would you keep Giovanni Ricci on the roster for special teams? Leave your comment, share with the community, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on everything happening behind the scenes with the Vikings as they head into 2025.